I would definitely say that they're worth taking. They're definitely one of my favourite supplements to use for cycling athletes. Basically, dietary nitrates are found in a number of different sort of fruits and vegetables, but more commonly known in beetroot. And what they do is they're a compound, it helps enhance the availability of nitric oxide in the body, which supports sort of blood flow and blood pressure and getting more oxygen into the body. So from a performance aspect, the reason that we would take beetroot or nitrates is to enhance the oxygen supply to the body, so that there's in the bloodstream, and support the muscles so that there's less kind of effort and more oxygen available in the body for performance.
So do you get the same benefit from just eating vegetables to do the nitrate shots?
Yes, but you've got to eat a significant amount of vegetables to get the same amount as having a supplement. So you can eat nitrates on a daily basis in natural ingredients, so from fruits and vegetables, so things like spinach in particular. Beetroot's obviously the most common one that people are using, and so if you're eating them on a regular basis, it's going to increase nitrates in the bloodstream and support performance, but probably not to the same effect as having a supplement, because we're needing such a large amount. And so, for example, a beetroot shot, which is concentrated, is usually only about 70 mils. To get the same amount of nitrates that have the performance effect, it's about 800 mils of beetroot juice. So it's a pretty significant amount of beetroot juice to be having in any one dose.
So from a practicality standpoint, it's just much simpler to have the beetroot shot.
Much simpler, but still important. They're still including, naturally occurring nitrates in your diet as well, just to support, oxygen transportation around the body as well.
So how does it increase the nitrates in your body?
Because they're so high in nitrates, basically how they support performance is they're a vasodilator. So we're able to get more oxygen into the bloodstream, which reduces the effect or the energy cost of exercise. So, if you're performing at a high level, we're trying to reduce the energy cost of that so that you can use the least amount of energy to push as hard as possible, if that makes sense. So they also support muscle contraction as well, which is going to be an important part of performance. Been shown to sort of reduce blood pressure as well, and support immune health. But really the main impact from a performance perspective is reducing the cost of exercise.
So yeah, it reduces your metabolic load, so it makes it easier to do more
oxygen
power
to the muscle. So the more oxygen coming to the muscles, the more the least amount of energy you use, and the easier it is to push at a higher sort of level as well.
So would you recommend taking this on a daily basis?
It's not something you would typically take every single day. One, just because the amount of nitrates, we don't have long-term sort of research on taking it every single day at the 400 milligram dose. So that's the specific dose that we're looking at using of nitrates to provide this performance impact or effect. And so taking that every single day, there's going to potentially be a little bit of gut upset. That's definitely one of the complications that can arise. But it's just about gut training. So like everything that we do in training, we're trying to train the gut to tolerate, food, fluid, and then again supplements as well. 400 milligrams of nitrate in a 70 ml shot is very concentrated. So anywhere from, depending on the beetroot as well, 500 to 800 mils worth of beetroot juice. You think about taking that before a ride, it's probably not going to sit all that great, and it has been shown to sort of upset your gut. So we want to train your gut to tolerate that amount, and in a concentrated amount, we've got to make sure that the gut can tolerate that before exercising as well. So the cost of the supplement, plus taking that every single day, we don't have that long-term research. It's not something that we're taking every single day. It's more of an event-specific supplement that I would use. And the other time that I would also use it would be something for altitude, where oxygen availability is obviously lower at altitude. So we're trying to support getting more oxygen into the body and at a reduced cost to support performance. So that's another time that I would potentially use it, whether that's for a training camp or an event specific in altitude.
So is it just the one shot you need to take? Do you need a preload
Yeah,
this?
so there's a few different protocols to take a beetroot shot. My go-to protocol is out from an event, we're taking one shot every single day for about 6 days. You can take it up to 15 days and you can take it as little as 3 days out from an event. I go that kind of halfway mark, 6 days out, one shot every single day. Timing of that doesn't really matter when it's in the days leading into an event. But on the day of the event, we want to take it about 2 to 3 hours prior to the event starting.
Doesn't matter if you take it during dinner or should you have it by itself?
The only sort of thing we want to be mindful of is that you're not using mouthwash or toothpaste or anything like that thereafter, because we want the nitrates to have a bit of a chemical reaction in the mouth with saliva. So the moment we're brushing our teeth or using mouthwash, it basically gets rid of all of the nitrate and that chemical sort of occurrence that's happening in the body. So that's the only consideration around types of food. The timing of that, as long as you're consistent with taking it those 6 days out, doesn't matter if you're having it, before training or around meal times, as long as it's not upsetting your gut. So we're making sure that we've trialed this at some point during a training program, not just before a major event, just in case it's going to upset the gut.
So you don't brush your teeth at all?
Oh, you can brush your teeth, just not directly after taking the shot, because it will diminish the effects of the nitrates.
So, well, you give it a couple hours, 6 hours, so yeah.
Yeah, there's no real sort of guideline around that. I would say by an hour you would be safe.
Okay, yep. Sweet. What performance metrics would improve from taking this? Would it just be like endurance side, or would your sprinting also get a big boost?
So both, but it's predominantly the sprinting that will have an impact. So it's usually those events sort of anywhere from up to sort of 30 minutes, but that's at a very high intensity. So it has been shown to support aerobic capacity. So where I find it most useful is endurance events with short bursts of sprinting and things like that, which is most cycling events, right, where we've got hills and then generally a sprint finish, and even over a really long race there's still going to be multiple parts of that race that are going to be at very high intensities. That's where it's going to be shown to have the most impact. Those really high intensity bursts, anywhere up to sort of 1 minute to 30 minutes of really high intensity efforts, but definitely shown to support aerobic capacity as well.
So even you'd still recommend this for ultra endurance cyclists?
Yeah, absolutely, because as part of any event there's going to be some form of sprint or high intensity effort. Zone 2, it's probably not going to provide any sort of benefit, and that's why it's not specific to a training performance. It's more sort of event specific, because it's where your higher intensity efforts are coming in.
Are there any potential side effects when taking this on?
Main one is just the gut upset. So there's, as I said, there's no real long-term research of taking it every single day, and it's not something that I would typically advise for supplements anyway. But the main one in the short term is just gut upset. So really concentrated amount of nitrates has been shown to potentially upset the gut. Again, it's rare that I've seen that with a lot of the cyclists I work with, but it's just making sure that you're taking that and training the gut and just making sure that it sits well. One thing also to be mindful of is it's likely going to change the colour of urine or stools. If you've ever eaten a large amount of beetroot, you'll probably notice that either the next day or the next bowel motion. Same with urine, is when it's a really concentrated amount of that colour, beetroot coloured liquid, generally is going to change the colour of stools and potentially urine, and that's perfectly normal as well.
Do any other factors change how you should be supplementing this, like age or gender?
No, I mean, I generally would try and get some of my athletes, if there's any sort of blood pressure concern or they're taking a medication that's either trying to reduce blood pressure, or if they've got very low blood pressure, that's something that I'd always get them to check in with their GP, just to be sure that they're safe to take nitrates or beetroot shots. How
would any athletes know that it's actually working?
It's a difficult one to measure because there's obviously so many variables associated with performance. But I'd suggest, any sort of aerobic capacity testing or VO2 max testing. If that's the only thing that you're changing, it's going to be easier, but keeping in mind that if you're working on other nutrition strategies at the same time, it's more of a subjective measure. It's nothing that we can directly measure on the spot to see if it's providing an immediate performance impact.
But there's enough science there to tell you it works.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of our sort of Group A that we would say in the Australian Institute of Sport supplements. So we have a bit of a framework, and Group A provides, it's safe, it's effective, it's a legal supplement, and you can get a lot of supplements that are batch tested as well, which is always a positive when you're a higher level athlete. But most amount of research is supported through these Group A supplements, and nitrates and beetroot juice sits in this Group A.
So something you'd recommend?
Something I recommend on a regular basis. Obviously, we're trying to use food as much as possible, and you can still reach this 400 milligrams of nitrates through food, but it's a significant amount of leafy greens that you're having to eat on a daily basis, which is difficult for a lot of people to eat in 2-3 cups of every single day, 7 days of the week. So when we're trying to target a specific event, we're supplementing a really good diet, and obviously carbohydrate intake and fluid and everything else that forms part of a race nutrition plan. This is kind of the cherry on top.